It's like, let me be me. Let me turn the freaking camera on. You gotta piss me off quicker than a hurry. You're trying to press the button for 55 minutes. I had to do a restart on it. It's just ridiculous. Let's go. I'm pissed. That was the most frustrating thing I've ever dealt with when it comes to the computer. It just would not work. I had to restart it. And when you restart the computer, you know it takes a long time. What is up, everybody? Tonight, whoa, hey, slow it down. All right, guys. What's going on? What's good? Happy Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. We were supposed to go live yesterday. It was just a busy day, man. You know, we're gonna have days like that where it's just not gonna happen like the way we want it to. So I want to get into a topic today. I have a lot of notes when it comes to things that I want us to talk about. Yes, the meningitis menace is in the house. You already know how it goes. The meningitis menace is here. I forgot what the other thing is. Anyway, welcome to the stream. I know we got a lot of plans going on today. I'm sure you guys are ready to watch the Super Bowl. We're going to go get some, what's it called? Chicken, not barbecue chicken dip. Forgot what it's called. Wow. Well, that ruins the moment there. But we're going to go get some stuff for the Super Bowl, even though I haven't really been watching football this year. It's just kind of been off my radar. I haven't really paid attention to the NBA either. Just too much life stuff going on. Just haven't been paying attention to sports the way I'd like to. So with all that being said, welcome to the stream. And I wrote something down, kind of like a diary or a note. And I wrote a very interesting thing I wrote was, let me just read it to you. Buffalo chicken dip. Thank you. How'd you know? How did you know? It's buffalo chicken dip. That is it. We gotta go get all the stuff for it. So I'm just gonna read it to you because it's just a lot easier. This is what inspires these types of moments. And I really want to talk through this one. I wrote the words, I'm a piece of crap, verse I want to get better. Now, this is about reinforcing your mind, reinforcing what you're saying to yourself on a daily basis, how you talk about yourself, and how you think about yourself. So first, I'd like to start with saying I still struggle sometimes to not what's the word? Soak? Not soak. I don't soak myself. Give me a second to think for it. What's the word? I don't know why I can't think of the word. But I'm one of those people who has a hard time making sure I don't allow myself to feel bad for myself. Let's put it that way. And that's a good thing because there's, like we talked about, there's moments and seasons for these things. Sulk. Thank you. Sulk, not soak. We are not the kids at BYU, brother. We're not soaking nothing. I'm one of the people to sulk. And the reason I sulk, I think, is because I didn't know how to, I was never taught how to use my emotions correctly. And I'm the type of person who has to learn how to not allow myself to go down into a hole, right? I was never taught how to healthily work through my emotions and feelings. So if you don't know how to do that, then of course you're going to sit in your emotions in a different way. So I'm telling you all this because I spent a lot of years saying these exact words, and this hits on something I've been bringing up the last few. You know what? Frick this. I'm going to show you. Here we go. I didn't think I'd show you. I'm broken. Let's see if it pops up. Bella, I'm broken. Bella Twilight. Watch this. I got to show you why. Because it's going to piss me off. She says it right here. Bella... Can't believe we're about to turn this crap on. None of it's here. None of this is what I want. Bella. Oh, that's not how you spell broken. It's backwards. I'm broken. Here we go. Here we go. I'm never going to run right. Damn it. It's not on here. I'm never gonna run right. How about that? Ever talk to me like that? Man, frick this, bro. Frick this. Frick it. Anyway, this is the reality. know that Bella brings this up and she goes into this whole thing about how she's never going to be the same person. She's never going to change. She's never going to heal. She's never going to be good for anybody. This is something that I just really need to hit on today. This talk, the way you wake up and talk to yourself every single day, is creating a future for you. Now, there's this amazing study, and you can look into this. I'm sure we could pull it up at some point. But what happens is I think it's 2 different plants, maybe more, but I remember the story about how these scientists talk to the plants and they speak life to one plant and they go off on the other one. I think it's kind of funny to think of a visual of somebody literally cussing out a plant, but that's just my own sense of humor. But they literally, the one that's being talked badly to dies, withers. They're getting the same treatment, and the one that doesn't grows beautifully. Now, the speaking life is simple as this: catching yourself in your thoughts. I say this a lot because it is the truest thing I've learned in my entire life. Most of your life is mental. It starts in your head and then it becomes action, right? That's kind of how everything works. Anxiety starts in your head, then it becomes physical. Sadness starts in your heart and your head. A lot of things happen when it comes to your mental. So if you're not paying attention to how you function and how you talk to yourself, you can be setting yourself up for regular failure because you don't know the difference. I'll tell you right now, today I was putting up some shots, basketball, and I'm putting up these shots and I'm saying stuff to myself like, okay, that's going to miss. When it's wrong, when your mechanics are off. And then I started realizing, talking to myself crazy. Like, I started to be really, really negative with myself. And I said and I kind of thought, why am I talking to myself like that? Like, that's really not productive. There's nothing productive about that. That doesn't really push you into greatness or push you to be better or do anything. If anything, that just makes you your own enemy, your biggest critic. And let's just be honest, we are our biggest critics. We know ourselves the best. We say the most real things about ourselves. And I'm learning that a lot of your life is about learning who you are and how you deal with yourself. Whether you reparent yourself, whether you learn how to become a different person. And so this is the lesson and part of life that I'm in right now. And it's brutal. I'm not going to lie. All this other trauma stuff outside of this part, this is just, I think, what everybody has to get to. I have been saying for a long time, and this is the reason why I titled the thumbnail what I did, is I've been saying that I'm just broken, right? I think to myself, why does everything have to be as bad as it can be? Why does my life have to reflect nothing but these bad situations? And that's kind of that black and white thinking on top of that glass half full, half empty. How do you perceive your life? If you don't see all the positives and you only see the negatives, you're inadvertently digging yourself into a hole, and you're going to wake up tomorrow in that hole. So it's going to get worse and worse and worse every single day. We hit on this stuff because I know every single day we are struggling mentally. I don't think we're getting very much help when it comes to social media. I just am being honest. I don't see a lot of really good things. I see these quotes by these amazing people who have these accomplishments that go along with these quotes. And they say things like, that really lift you up in the moment, or work harder, or work till your feet bleed, or this and that. But they don't really give you any direction. Okay? For them, they found a craft, they found that thing that they want to work at, and they became really good and successful at it. But that doesn't really apply to like emotional safety and things like that. So I think what really happens at the end of all of these things is our job every single day for ourselves. We have to show up for ourselves. That's going to be your first step, and that's the hardest part. Then you have to stop talking to yourself a certain way. You have to stop saying things like, I'm broken, I can never be fixed. Look, I'll be the first to tell you, I know my life will never be the same. I know that. My life will never, ever be the same when I was 20, 21 years old. I had a completely different life. I feel sometimes like I'm living in a whole new life. And don't get it twisted. I don't think in multiple lives or can't acknowledge the past. Chill. What I am saying is what happens in that mentality is, I remember the biggest moment when I turned 27. I told you guys I couldn't believe that I was 27. I felt like I was supposed to be like 24. It's the first time I remember ever feeling that way. And the reason I felt like that's because I had all those years just stolen. And I talked to myself a certain way my whole life. And then when this happened, I told you guys, the survivor's guilt, the anger, the hurt, the betrayal, the loss, the every emotion was absolutely hijacking my life. I didn't have anywhere to go. And all I knew how to do was everything I basically felt and did was internal. And so I was just struggling, so much mentally. And I don't know when I started really trying to talk to myself more positively, but there's a line in a bar in a song by NF. I've told you guys this before. And he says, if you wake up every day and say you'll never be great, you'll never be great. The simplicity of that is so unbelievably applicable and true. Even though it's just a quick line, it's the truest thing ever. I don't know how you guys talk to yourself, but I'm encouraging you today to really spend some time learning how to love yourself. I really do think, my personal opinion, that emotions and feelings and this kind of stuff can cause a lot of bodily harm and cause you to have, this is my personal opinion, but cause people to have, things happen to their physical bodies, right? Sicknesses, things like that. Because if your emotions are constantly at a high and you're constantly in fight or flight and stress, your cortisol goes up and your immune system can suffer. And then when your immune system suffers, like, it's a real thing. Your body can only take so much emotional and mental pain. I want to give you a real thing to start doing. I want you to try to catch yourself in your thoughts. And this is actually a biblical thing. This is not just Colby's knowledge. This is something that I had learned on my own later, in a sense, but like, it's biblical. This is also, a very good tool and therapeutic tool. But catching your thoughts is one of the most important things. I know for me, as you know, I can get distracted easily. I can think of the worst things. And when you're already exhausted or overwhelmed or already have anxiety or trauma, okay, those are all tickers to what we talked about, which is the past is going to repeat itself. I'm going to be hurt again. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm going to lose you. These are all these thoughts, and they're overwhelming because they come attached with real things, reality, and pain. And then you don't want that to happen again. And so you're preparing yourself for something that hasn't happened. And so again, back to what we talked about with Michael Jordan's shot. Why would you worry about a shot you haven't taken? That simplicity of learning to survive in the moment will start to make you feel more and more and more at peace the more you practice that. This is all, by the way, my opinion. I'm not a doctor or psychologist, but it's very important for us to start doing this because our lives are happening every single moment. And a lot of times life is just coming and nothing's getting better. And it just keeps adding to your toll, adding to your life, adding to your anxiety, whatever's going on. And I know a lot of people who are depressed, who are suffering, who have crippling anxiety. I've had crippling anxiety in my life too. And, night terrors, you name it. I mean, we're just tip of the iceberg how many things I've experienced. I've seen my friends and others that I love experience. There's people who go through this stuff. And, there's so many different aspects when it comes to this. But taking care of your mental and physical health has to start being a priority in our lives, and I'm not broken is the new thing we need to be saying, because this is, for me, this is the quicksand. If I say things like I'm broken, I'm just a broken person, there is no room for improvement there. I've already declared a state of hopelessness. You see what I'm saying? Think about that. Like, when a vase breaks, you're not thinking, oh, well, it's possible, it shatters. You're not thinking you're going to pick up every single little piece of that vase and put it back together, okay? Unless you want to do kintsugi, which is what our whole podcast is about. But I'm saying, as a person, when we break, we're not just broken. We get put back together. We have to put ourselves back together at some point. Or else, what happens is exactly what we talk about all the time and hit on, is that mental health gets so steep that people are willing to get out of pain in any way they can, and they're gone. They take their life, and that's it. There is no second chance. They don't get to know what future they could have had. It doesn't matter how old they are, how young they are. They make an ultimate decision. And that right there is what we need to be continuing to discuss here. You know, I see it a lot. People are hurt and in pain, and they don't know where to go with it, and it overwhelms them, and then they're like forget this. And again, I always tell you this, I've been there. I fully 100% understand that. And so this is coming from somebody who never thought that I could ever not be there, telling you that's not the answer. It's just not going to fix the problems. It's not going to change anything. It's only going to cause more pain, and that's just the reality. And what's on the other side of that? What's on the other side of when you actually do take your life? And I never want you guys to feel like I'm disrespecting anybody that has. I understand why they did it. I understand why. And it's just all of it about everything about that subject is so heart-wrenching, because of the reason why it happened is because that person was in such a level of pain that they just didn't want to exist anymore. And I just know how that feels. And it needs to be a topic that continues to be brought up. I know our community has got a lot of different stuff going on. Every single day, every day, people have problems. You know what I mean? And I was watching the NBA players. They come in and they, for the NBA season, Netflix followed them around. It's called the Starting Five. And a lot of times I think they're trying to rehumanize NBA players because we think that they're just these millionaires who have everything that they ever wanted. And they explain, obviously, that they're human beings. They have anxiety. They have problems. Even though they have a ton of money and house and their dream, everyone is human. So I'm just trying to say that because there's no grass is greener. I want to just kind of stop that whole idea of like trying to get somewhere else outside of yourself. When it comes to ourselves, the grass is greener when we heal through the process, not jump ship and move somewhere else. Like I think for Lori, right? And I'm just going to bring her up because she's like a case study to me at this point. For Lori, moving cities, moving houses, moving all over the place, moving states, moving here, new ward, new people, new friends, was like her way of restarting or reinventing. But guess what? She was the same person everywhere she went. You know, it's like the whole idea, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas idea. No, you brought it. Whatever you did in Vegas, you're going to have the memories of it, and it happened. It just bothers me to think that people feel that the grass is greener over here. Yes, life can be better. So let's be very clear of what I'm saying here. The grass can be greener in the sense of walking to the right place, but thinking that jumping ship or moving houses or changing cities or everything just being this constant idea of I'm going to jump ship, you're always carrying the same thing until you go inside and start working on that inner part of you. You know, and that's what it's always going to cost. I watched it growing up. I watched it and I kept thinking, this doesn't solve anything. You know what I mean? And I did the same thing for a very short amount of time when I was very young, like 18, 19. I just moved, tried to try new things. That's what you're supposed to do when you're young. But I kept going to those places and like nothing was super changing or I wasn't getting exactly where I wanted. And then I'd quit and move back with my family, feel like a failure. Very big cycle of feeling the same way at that 18, 19, and 20-year-old version of myself. And so that's the point, that there's not going to be, this is going to be better because I go here. You know, it's not, there's no magic spot. People think if they get their dreams or they win the lottery that they're going to be fulfilled. You're just going to have a different set of problems. And, you know, this isn't to ever make you feel hopeless, right? This isn't about making you feel hopeless. This is the opposite. The best part about the information that I'm sharing with you is that means it gets to start with you and it gets to start today, and it doesn't have to dictate or stop your life from progression, you know, and it goes to everything. It goes to relationships. It goes to everything. You feel like there's always going to be something more, something better. There might be, right? We're always looking for like the newest, most amazing phone, most amazing this. I think the problem with that mentality is you can't enjoy what is today. And that is, I think, our generation's, everybody who lives in this generation with our technology and how life works, there's so much new everything I don't know if we really appreciate what we have, you know? And I say that as someone who's lost everything. I didn't appreciate what I had. I didn't see that I had all of these things until it was gone. You don't want that. You don't want to be that person that has to learn those lessons. You don't want to. You want to live in the moment and enjoy it and be grateful for what you have. Again, as a case study, let's use Lori. She thought that being with Chad would make her happy. She thought that taking the lives of everybody she loved would make her happy. She thought moving to Hawaii would make her happy. And look where it cost her. The grass was not greener. She knew there must be consequences to that life, and she still went for it. And she has to live with that. There is no better this, and this. We work towards better, but bettering yourself is your first step. You can go get everything you've ever wanted right in front of you, and the fulfillment might not come because there's still a hole in your heart. If you look it up, there are people who are millionaires and billionaires who have taken their life. Even though some people are like, if I just had 10% of what you have, I would be on cloud 9, right? And it'd be fun. Let's say I won the lottery tomorrow. You know, I'd build a house, I'd go on a trip, make sure my kids have everything they need. That's not going to fulfill me as a person, though. That only goes so far. It's just, a boat's not going to fill my heart. A boat's not going to make me feel better. I'm going to go fast on this water right here. I can't even see my finger. I'm going to go fast in this water, but that's it. Like, if I had this house, this is all great. This doesn't fulfill people's hearts and desires. And, this is another big thing. NBA talks about this stuff. NBA players have now come out more often than they've ever have explaining mental health. And it's like I've seen the comments. They go off on these NBA players like, bro, it must be hard, wipe your eyes with your millions, right? They don't understand that's just all that is. It's a separation of money. It doesn't make them better or worse or different. It just makes their ability to have different things there. But their life hasn't changed other than what they do for a living. But I really want to hit on that because I'm learning how to do the same thing. Soak in the moment. Exist here. Try to be present. Try to be, aware that my kids are going to grow up. And they're destroying the house downstairs. And the pickle chips have been opened 4 times. And the crumbs are from the front door to the back door. And there's 6 flies have been let in. And there's crafts everywhere. And then I also have to think, this isn't going to last that long. They're going to be adults for the majority of their life. They're only kids for this little time. And that's it. That's all I get with them as kids. And then for the rest of their lives, from 18 to the entire rest of their lives, they're adults. You never get this back. So a lot of times when we do these videos, I'm preaching to you and to myself. I'm never above you or something. I'm just trying to share this whole thing. I want to be a better father. I want to be, better everything, a better person. And of course I struggle with things. Of course I have flaws, but that doesn't mean I'm a broken person. And that's the problem we also have. Again, I want to hit on this real quick. We do have a cancel culture. We do. And we cancel the idea of someone so quickly and act like we're not all human. I'm not saying I agree with people. I'm not saying that there's not certain reasons why people feel the way they feel. I'm just saying the idea of you doing something and then canceling someone in a sense. And even if it's not a public figure, but the idea of just canceling people out, it's real and it affects the way I think we think about people, and there needs to be thought really behind what's best for you. That's all. It needs to be a thought. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I don't know if I read your chat. I'm going to have to read it right now. I know you may not think this about yourself, but you have an insane amount of strength. I say that for even the simple fact that you started a channel and have opened up. Thank you so much. This is what my dream was, man. I wanted to bring real life to YouTube. Forget all that silicone. I want the real, okay? What Kendrick says. Whatever they say. the reality is this, with the stuff you see, not everybody who's living this life that you see online or celebrities or whatever the case is are really living this happy life. They're not. It's a portrayal. It's their highlight reel, right? I don't, it's not that that's not great, but it creates this idea that these people's lives are so much better. And again, they can be dreams, but there's still ups and downs, and they don't talk about the reality of their life. And I think that happens because there's a disassociation from them being human almost. I don't think we look at people who are celebrities and think of them as human beings. I think we literally dehumanize them because they're not, to us, they're not normal, right? They're not like, they live a whole nother life. They're in these movies. Like, they're not normal people who are doing this and that. So we kind of just dehumanize them in a lot of ways. It happens to athletes all the time. And again, I'm not going to go all over the place, but I use those examples because to be where you are today, the most important thing you can do is take care of yourself. You deserve that. And I promise you, talking to yourself negatively, it will get you nowhere. It's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to get you further. And even if it motivates you temporarily, you're going to need a healthier outlet. And I'm learning that because I was that, use the pain to fuel. That can work. It does work. I've fueled my workouts through that. I've done things that are bigger feats because I had something happen, or, something gets me through that, carries me through it. But those are like nitrous in a car. It's a boost, but it's not forever. It's just that boost. And I think what really comes down to is being happy, healthy, and present, feeling confident in yourself that nobody can tell you who you are and make you feel like a piece of crap, and have your identity. Very important. But you have to also reinforce yourself. I promise you, if you try this exercise, if you just start talking to yourself kindly this week, you will see a difference. You will. If you catch your thoughts, and obviously you're not perfect, so we're going to slip up, we're going to do things, but if you catch yourself saying something negative about yourself or others, catch yourself and start to think, what can I do to truly change the way I'm speaking and thinking? Because it's going to make me a better person. It's going to help me become more of what I need to be. It's got to, at some point, we got to stop pointing our fingers at other people. We got to stop saying this and that. We got to just start working on ourselves. And I think that that's exactly why, I have tried to put more focus into myself. Anytime I listened to those trials or had gone through it, I knew what my ultimate goal was. And I knew what I wanted to accomplish was to learn more about what happened to my family, the reason it happened through court. Obviously, there's never going to be an understanding there. But I have to realize that's what they did. That's what they chose. And I can't change that. And I also can't live for the rest of my life as this is the only thing that ever happened, right? This can't just stop my life. Like I told you, you can't live in the graveyard. You just can't. And I'll give you a perfect example. Go watch Creed. It's literally the prime example of exactly what I'm talking about. Creed 1, Rocky goes and visits his wife and Paulie at the graveyard. He literally sits there and reads the paper, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he didn't care. He didn't care about living anymore. He said, everything I love has moved on, and I'm still here. Yeah, but that's the point. You're still here. That's it. That's as simple as I can make it. You're still here. So if you're still here, this is the point. This is your day today. Talk to yourself nicely is a great first step. It's not going to cost you a lot. It's not going to cause trauma. You don't have to dig up a bunch of stuff. It's just, how do I talk to myself? How do I talk to others? How do I be a better example to other people around me? Right? It's all of that encompasses in that. And I just want to say, please do not keep telling yourself that you are just broken. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to make you better. And it's just not true. You're just different. You're a different version. The pain has been real. You can acknowledge it in its fullness without using the words broken, or you can say changed, because that's reality. But broken, to me, like I said, the vase idea. You break a vase, you're usually going to sweep it up and put it in the trash because it's shattered. There's no repairing that. There's certain words that kind of tell your destiny. You're saying that to yourself on a constant basis. I'm broken, can't fix it. That's it. This is who I'll be for the rest of my life. This is how my life is going to be for the rest of time. Nothing will ever change. I've said all this stuff. These are things I have to constantly tell myself, shut up. Shut up, Colby. Colbert. I don't know. I gotta name the anxiety and the worst version of me. I'm gonna have to find a name for. And then if you want to use your anger, take it out on that part. Say, shut up, Colbert. You don't know what you're talking about. Because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life hurting myself or telling myself there's no hope. Because guess what that leads to? The ultimate where it leads to is you hurting yourself, taking your own life, or possibly hurting someone else. I don't know. Where does that go? Nowhere good. I promise you that. Nowhere good. It's not going to make your life better. I understand how real life is, okay? I'm not sitting here trying to be a hard ass or tell you to suck it up or do all these things. I'm telling you practical reasoning why you can't. Things do break. I understand that. They call it a break up. Your heart breaks. There's you break from your trauma. Things change you. You can break, but you're not broken. Again, break your leg. Might have to re-break it to set it the right way, but it can heal. It might not be the exact same, but it's not broken forever. There's a healing process. To start that healing process, though, you have to be willing to go and dig in. You know? That's all that matters. And I get it. Like, there's real stuff going on every single day. Every single day I get it. But we're not trying to be tough here. We're trying to be practical. We're trying to more than just survive. We don't want to live in this cyclical, horrible mentality with this mental prison that is possible to get out of. It is. I never thought that, though. I'll tell you right now, I told you guys I was there. And when I say there, I mean all the way there. Thinking of how I would leave notes for people or videos, like literally planning out how it would go if I was gone, because I was in that much pain and I just didn't have anything left to give. I mean, nothing. My gas tank was not even empty. The gas tank fell out the car. I was literally stopped in hell, burning, dying, couldn't get out. That's how I felt. And I thought life is over. This is it. There's nothing left to give. There's nobody left to go for. My kids will be better off. My wife will be better off. I had all of it in my head. That's why I can tell you this, because I know exactly what that felt like. But every time I got close enough, the first thing is, I think, I'm going to hurt so many people if I do this. It's not just a decision for me. I'm going to hurt a lot of people if I do this. And I literally made a list. I was ready. I was that low. So I made a list in order. I told you guys this before. On my phone, my notes, and I just wrote every name that I know would be directly affected and life changed. And every time I wrote a name, I got more and more hurt. Because I realized that if I do this, all it's going to do is cause everybody else pain and change their lives. You know? And that's to me, that's what stopped me. I don't know how, by the way. I don't know how I stopped it, because I was done. And then life started to change. And it took a long time. It was crawling to walking. to jogging to running. And sometimes you revert. Sometimes you go all the way back to crawling. That's what is demoralizing in your life, is when you feel like I have to restart. Why? I thought I was better. I thought this was better. I thought I could do better. I've been doing better. I'm crawling again. How does, I'm going through trauma again. And all these things come flying up, right? Another thing NF says, great artist if you want to listen to NF, he says something about drowning. Basically the sentiment is drowning the thing you thought, but it always survives, and it comes up out of nowhere like an evil surprise, okay? That, to me, that bar is so clear, because we do sometimes want to just, at some point you're like, F this. I've told you guys where I've been at with this. F this, I can't do this anymore. I want to shed this off. Just done. I can't handle anymore. Get it off me. Like old skin. I want it to fall off my body. I want it to drop to the ground, and I want it to be off my body. I want nothing to do with it. And that doesn't work. I'm sorry to tell you that. I am sorry to tell you the truth. It does not die. It doesn't go away if you move. It doesn't do anything. Your heart still hurts. Your heart is, I think we're meant to be in a survival. We're survivalists, right? So our body and our minds and our hearts and everything is made to survive. And so we do these things to push emotions around or do whatever we have to cope and survive. And then at some point, when you've been surviving for so long, you're just done. You just don't have any more to survive, because it's so exhausting. And I don't think we're on this earth to purely survive. I think we have seasons, ups and downs, highs and lows, and we need other people to carry us. We cannot do this by ourselves. That's another thing I want to say. Don't think that all of this is supposed to be done just by you. That's not what I'm preaching here. Do not think that I'm telling you this is all on you. All I'm saying is start with a practical step and talk nice to yourself, because you deserve to be talked to nicely. I think that'll help a lot of people. But leaning on other people is really important. And if you don't have people, I think a therapist is a great option. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to walk this life suffering by ourselves forever. There can be seasons for it, but it's not good for man to be alone. Ask Genesis. So that's where I'm at with that. But to end this video and to just tell you guys, what's more important to me than anything is seeing people know that life is not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You can show up today as you are and accepted in this community as you are. You don't have to be better than you are. I've had a really hard couple of I want to say months, but especially the last few weeks. Just been way harder, which is why we're hitting on this stuff. Because I kept thinking to myself, I have all these things I want to talk about, but this is, like, to me, one of the most important things to talk about in the world. And that is where this comes from. It's from my heart, because I care about you guys, thinking about people suffering the way that I did and not say anything. I don't know. I just can't live with that. I can't feel, I can't let myself just go down that path of just like, hey, I know I could have helped someone today. I know I could have talked about my own story, and maybe somebody that needed it was able to listen and get something out of it. That's what I told you guys when I was at my lowest. That's what I did. Also, let's go into some good coping things you can do. What I would do in my worst moments, make sure you are doing some kind of time outside. I don't know what it is, but being outside is so good for you. It's just fresh air. I know some of you guys are in the freezing cold, so I don't know. Maybe put on a mask, put on a hoodie, put on a snow jacket, put on some mittens. Maybe just be outside for a few minutes if you can. And then something physical, walking, anything physical, whatever you enjoy. And I used to tell my clients this all the time. People think cardio is this drag, okay? And I get it. It can be a drag. If you just think, oh, I have to get on the treadmill and run or go outside and run, forget that. Do something you love. Go play a sport. Go play soccer. Play pickleball. Go swimming in a pool. Go swimming in a lap pool. Walk. Run. Bowl. Do something. And just activate your body and your mind at the same time. Play freaking Wii Sports. Do something. And then build some kind of community. So you can have people to reach out to and talk to. Don't do this all by yourself. Lean on those people. And then trust God with the timing. I know everybody doesn't believe the same things here, and I get that. But I can't sit here and deny that that's one of the main things I needed and was doing during that time. I couldn't have done it unless God had my back. It's just, I can't ever tell you guys anything different. I couldn't have done it by myself. I don't have that in me completely alone. Because there's times where I was alone and I just didn't have anything. So without praying and really believing that God had my back, I would not be here. And I truly am telling you that from the bottom of my soul. I found that on my own through the worst of circumstances, by the way, which is unfortunate. But also, you turn things into for good, and you want to make sure that not everything in your life only has a negative connotation, but can be used for good. So that's how I got through a lot of this stuff and still am. And then one of the other things is find things you truly enjoy. Rediscover who you are. It's so important to know yourself. If you haven't spent time with yourself, try it. Just hang out with yourself, be alone. And that's hard for a lot of people, without noise, without constant distractions, constant something feeding into your brain. If you turn that off, you're alone with your thoughts. And then you can really do something, because then you're more aware of who you are, what's going on. And that's what's going to matter in your life. That's what's going to change your life, is you start to get to know yourself. You start to hear your own voice. You're not being influenced by the outside. And then when you do go listen to things, you can practically think about those things. You're not just being all day fed stuff, right? It's like you are what you eat. Well, it's the same thing. You are what you consume. Your brain is going to be consumed by what you're consuming. So that the more you consume, I think the more prevalent that is in your life, and the more it's upfront all the time. So if again, we talk about this all the time, but having an algorithm into your social media or whatever, the whole social media world is meant to feed you the same things that you're looking at or doing. And so it's going to feed you more and more and more and more. And so you kind of become somewhat of a product of whatever you're looking at, right? Especially if it's depression stuff. Then you find all the music. Okay, I'm going to out the living hell out of myself right now. When I was upset and sad, going through a lot, it helped me because it was a season. I finally got myself out of this, but maybe it was a little too long. But I found the algorithm. I was watching the sad stuff. I was watching the guys who were working out with their head down and the sad songs. Then I'd find the sad songs and I'd play them in the car. So almost everywhere I go, I'm constantly in this realm of I'm sad. And then you start listening to just all the music, and it's just, you're just drowning in it, and it becomes your thing. And then, because it is good to see people expressing how you feel. There's something, their community of feeling okay, I'm not the only person in the world that's going through something, right? There's something that's good about that. How long you stay there, that's really up for debate. I don't know. Yeah, that's not something that I want to get into right on this video, but it's just so important to love yourself, to take care of yourself, to stop speaking negatively to yourself, to stop telling yourself you're going nowhere, If you don't want to see the future because you have anxiety, then start living in the moment and stop telling yourself there's no future. I truly believe that, which is why I was in the hole I was. I think everybody who's willing to take their life only sees darkness. No light, no future, nothing ahead of them, only darkness. I get that. That's exactly what that feels like. You literally stop seeing that there's a future. What you have, your current circumstances, is the only thing that exists. And then that is why it dictates you to say, well, life's never going to change. I can't stand this anyway. And there's no future. There's no hope. You strip away hope, people take their lives. I'm telling you, watch. It's not a game. It really gets to me. It really gets to me. Sometimes I look at this stat and I think, how in the world is this possible? Let me find that website. So according to worldometers at info.com, I don't know how accurate this is, but this is the meter for this year. And it's February 8th. So 113,153 suicides have happened. I don't know how accurate that is, but again, do you see what I'm saying? That's a big number, and it's February 8th. Just gets me, man. It just hits me different. Because imagine if they just knew that they were loved. Imagine if they just felt that love. Imagine if they just knew the difference. And, you know, it just gets me. Because that's different. It's just different than when you do it yourself. It's just different. It comes from a very, very different place. And I'm not saying it. There's really a scale here of if you get your life taken or you take your own life. But when you take your own life, it's because you were there. You were at that point, which is like the most heart-wrenching, most heartbroken, like the absolute most fed up and hopeless you can be, the darkest you can go. So that's what gets me every time. That's why these videos matter to me. I really hope you guys know. It's not going to make it better. It's going to hurt everybody else around you. It's going to affect people. And it's just not something that's going to make it go away. That's how I feel. So, oh my gosh. Stuff is heavy. Okay. Coming into this week, like I said, Saturday, we're going to be covering the rest of Jeanette McCurdy's book. We've got Elizabeth Smart's documentary to watch, so I'm excited about that because like I told you guys, I've heard her story. We'll get into that this week. We got a few more things. We also have some other current things that are happening right now we're going to talk about, and so I'll be putting those all up on the community tab. I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great Super Bowl Sunday, and again, talk nicely to yourself and know you got a community of people who understand, who care and love you here and appreciate who you are. So much love to all of you. Mods, thank you so much. Members, you guys are awesome. And our community is amazing, man. I'm always blown away by it. Appreciate you guys, man.